Good afternoon. I'm Ray, aka RayMo JMO, coming at you with Marty, Fantasy Footboy. It's Monday, March 13th, the day before Pi Day. And in the midst of a flurry of trades and free agency signings, we're here to break down rookie running back Dynasty rankings for you. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, buddy, let's talk about it. All right, so we got our tier rankings brought up here on the screen. We got six tiers all divided up. Do you want to explain these tiers here real quick, Raymond?
Yeah, so first we have S tier, the superior superstar tier. And then we go down to our A tier, which is like a lower end RB1, high end RB2. Uh, B tier is going to be somebody that we feel confident about being a weekly starter. Tier C, potential weekly starters, if they get the chance. D is going to be high end handcuffs, you know. And E, sell them when they pop.
Cool, cool. All right, well, let's get started. I think there's probably really one option here, right?
I think it's obvious.
All right, let's lock them in.
All right. Bijan Robinson.
So yeah, we got Bijan. I mean, what can't you say? I mean, 5'11", 215, ran 4.46. I mean, he's just turned 21 years old. I mean, he's literally the perfect prospect. You know, I don't think there's a landing spot that's going to concern anybody with Bijan moving forward. So lock him in the stud tier and ready to keep going.
All right. So in this next tier, we only have one guy, and I do think he's gonna fall into like pretty safely an RB1, and that guy is Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah, 100% agree. Jameer Gibbs, I think, is that next generation Alvin Kamara body type. You got a guy that's running 4.36, puts him in the 99th percentile of a speed score. I know we wanted him to weigh in at 200 pounds or 205, but I'm sorry, maybe he peed a little bit more than he was expected to that morning and put out the 199. But I'm fine either way. He still meets the body mass index rating that we're looking for. High end receiving skills, 926 rushing yards, 444 receiving yards with 44 receptions last year at Alabama. Um, I think he's locked in and loaded, ready to go. He's a guy that is a little bit more landing spot dependent for the high end asset that he could become. But still, I have him locked in pretty consistently as an RB1 moving forward.
Awesome. All right. In our next tier, we have three guys, and I think there's kind of a consensus on one of the guys that he's the highest up, and that would be Zach Charbonnet. But I think the way that we value it, you could really take any of the three guys in this tier.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think Zach Charbonnet, once again, you're talking about that ideal body type, 6 foot, 214. He ran a 4.53, still puts him in the 70th percentile for his speed score. Great burst score, 123.9, 78th percentile. Thank you very much, Player Profiler, for all this great information here. One great spot. Um, so yeah, I think he's another guy that's just kind of just locked and loaded, looking like he's the right guy. Back to back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. We had a total of 27 touchdowns, and he's still involved in the receiving game last year with 37 receptions, 321 yards. Maybe not the target share that you're looking for, but once again, I think that can change at any moment. I think he shows that he can catch the ball, which is really all you're looking for out of a prospect.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we got Roshan Johnson.
Roshan, what do you like about your boy Roshan?
I like that he's going to be there in multiple phases of the ball. He's good for blocking. He's going to be good on passing downs. He's going to be there for special teams. Like this guy's just going to be on the field a lot, and that's going to equate to fantasy opportunities.
Yeah, see, I know it's weird to get excited about stuff like blocking drills, but like watching these guys like light up these linebackers when they're coming in, that's a quarterback's best friend. That's a guy that's going to get on the field. It's another guy. I mean, we're talking about just running back after running back after running back, 6 foot 219. Another 30% body mass index, 22-year-old coming out with a 4.58. Um, I think he's another guy that he's not evidently a big burner. Or the usage, especially in the receiving game, was not really involved. Last year 14 receptions. But he did have 554 carries on 93 attempts, backing up the beast himself and Bijan. So a guy that I think will get the day two draft capital. It might be the end of day two. If not, he'll definitely be there at the top of day three.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that he can do really well that we just haven't necessarily seen him do because Bijan absorbs so many of those touches.
Yeah, yeah. And say when you're watching them on tape too. I mean, a lot of times you're like, "Oh wow, man, what a run!" You're like, "Oh, wait, that was Roshan." Like, wow, you know, he can definitely imitate the Bijan role. And this is a guy that I think has that potential to grow into a starter, but if not, could a lot like Rashad White coming out last year, but not the receiving prowess per se, but just that guy too that could work into that role in year two.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Kendre Miller, and I think he is maybe our favorite running back in this tier at Modern Dynasty.
Yeah, 100%. It was a shame that we didn't need to see him test. I think that he would have ran a really fast 40 time. You know, he's showing here at 5'11", 215. I think he looks bigger than that on tape. He ran really hard with TCU. Once again, I think this is a guy that would be at the top of this tier, maybe even sliding into that A tier if he had just played through the rest of those playoff games with TCU. So he's definitely the guy I feel um, most excited about seeing where the NFL feels about Kendre Miller and his skill set.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So coming up in our potential weekly starter tier, we have two guys, and when we do hear what the NFL has to say about these guys, these are guys that could move up into that tier above, or they might drop down. But like right here, we got to start off with Tajay Spears.
Yeah, Tajay Spears. Yeah, he's definitely a guy that came on really strong in the Senior Bowl. Definitely a name that was not my list out of Tulane. 5'10", 201. A little bit of a leaner build, but I mean, geez, puts out a burst score of 128.8, puts him in the 91st percentile. I know a lot of people talk about Jahmyr Gibbs as the Kamara clone of this class, but we should start looking at Tajay Spears. He had 22 receptions last year for 256 yards, with another 229 rushing attempts on the ground and 1,581 rushing yards. This is a guy that's got great contact balance. Is really a fine runner between the tackles. Has showed really soft hands at the Senior Bowl during practice. So this is a guy, once again, I think could very much shoot up the boards and be locked in a lot more into a weekly starter, high end RB2, low end one role.
Yeah. All right. Coming up next, we've got Devon A. Chain. And this is the guy that he was Isaiah Spiller's ticket, like to being drafted highly last year. Everybody was like, well, it's A Chain. He's so good. Like, he's going to take some of the touches.
Yeah, when they were like, "Oh, well, he's not the most efficient back in his own backfield," and they're like, "Well, but Devon A. Chain's just so fast, so that's why he looks more efficient." But like, I mean, the dude is super fast, and he is also an efficient runner. It's a very interesting combination. He comes in 5'9", 188 pounds. Definitely on the lighter side. Goes out and runs a 4.32, 99th percentile, even for his weight. We're really kind of hoping that he might break into that 4.29, 4.28 range. But I mean, almost back-to-back years with over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Last year, 1,102 yards on the ground, another 196 yards in the air on 36 receptions. Um, this is just a weapon. I think, Player Profiler has him most comparable to Chris Johnson. Obvious
Right.
reasons for that. So this guy's gonna be used in the right offense. It's gonna be an electric back. I do have my concerns about him as a weekly starter, feeling him locked in every day to a role. But DFS, this guy is going to be an awesome DFS play. I think he's going to has some really great best ball weeks, and hopefully really start to grow into a consistent role and throughout his rookie year.
Yeah. All right. So heading into our next tier, this is the high end handcuff tier. And, this is a tier that I really love because this is where we make people pay for thinking, oh, my second round pick is going to be the 212. It's going to be a late two. I'll just trade it. It's not worth that much. And, maybe they don't make it as deep in the playoffs as they thought. And now you've got yourself like a 207, 208. And, I'm happy to be spending some late second into the early third rounds on these guys right here. And the first of which is going to be Tank Bigsby.
What a great name! This guy's like built to be running back. Tanks Bigsby, 6 foot 210, not built like the tank that you would expect him to be. Goes out and runs a 4.56. He's still in the 30th percentile for a burst score. Maybe not the great numbers that you were expecting him to put out. But once again, I love the player profiler comp here with Damian Harris as his best comparable player. Not a guy that's going to go blow the doors off. He's a guy that you can hand the ball off to. You can rely on him. He does have soft hands. Does seem to be able to catch the ball well. Last year, 30 receptions, only 180 yards. So he's definitely not a schemed up pass catcher, but he's definitely a guy who's capable of catching the ball. Almost nearly puts up 1,000 all-purpose yards in all 3 seasons. In only 10 games in his freshman year, but still 834 yards, 11 receptions for 84 yards. His sophomore year, 1,099 yards, 184 in the air, and then last year 970 with another 180 in the receiving game. So, I know he's definitely a big name that we liked in Devi. We were excited about, and I think that another guy I'm curious where he's going to get his name called.
Yeah. All right. And next up, we have, I think Tucker's up next.
Yes, it's Sean Tucker.
Yeah.
So yeah, Syracuse running back. We haven't seen one come out in a while. So, I was kind of surprised a little bit by Sean Tucker. I don't know. I expected. I heard a lot of kind of these like early Nick Chubb type comparisons before I'd really put the tape on. And then see him come in 5'9", 207 was definitely a lot smaller than I expected him to be. He has a great body mass index, 30.6, definitely above the threshold. So, he meets a lot of the criteria as far as his body mass goes. Even though he's not a super big back, 205 or 207 is plenty. Definitely is where he excels on the ground game. Last 2 years ago, 1,496 rushing yards, another 255 in the air. Follows it up last year with 1,060 yards and 254 in the air. Maybe a little disappointing from the 1,500 yards that he put up the year before, but I still think that he's a guy that feels like a really solid pure runner. You can't help but be a little excited about Sean Tucker.
Yeah, and you do gotta he's shown at least some ability to catch the ball.
Yeah,
maybe not elite ability, but he can handle it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So next up, we've got Zach Evans, and yeah, he's been a curious case so far, following the ups and downs of him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was a guy, we were all really excited about last year, going into the college football season, goes in the transfer portal, goes over to Ole Miss. Um, has a, kind of a disappointing year last year, which is it's hard because he also has incoming freshman that's looking like the next RB1 in his class in 2025, and Stud Judkins. So I think him having a little bit of share of the backfield, wasn't able to showcase as much as what he can do. He does has put up some really great numbers, in you know he's looking at like a prototypical size, 5'11", 202. Maybe a little bit on the thinner side. 936 yards even so on the ground last year. You know, he's a guy that's probably gonna go at the back end of the second, early third in your rookie drafts. I still have him in my D tier until the NFL tells me otherwise.
Yeah. Well, this is a guy that, there's people that are going to believe in him because of how high we were on him at one point. So if you spend a late two, early three on him, and at any point he's worth a first round pick, we're getting rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, look at Zamir White last year. I mean, that was just a great Debbie name. His name was Zeus. Zeus
Yeah.
White. I saw people reaching for him all over the place in rookie drafts and startups, all kinds of places last year. They had lots of sell windows before the season, and
Yeah.
and then
These
Josh Jacobs.
preseason games, like,
Yep, yep. And geez, there was almost another sell window. Then obviously Josh Jacobs with the franchise tag is kind of put a little bit of halt in the Zeus awakening.
yeah.
All right, we
All
got one
right.
more guy in this tier, right?
Yeah, the last guy in this tier is another guy with a fan club going on. Everybody loves them some Chase Brown.
Yep, yep. Yeah, that was another name. His workout metrics are looking really solid coming across the board. 4.43 on the 40-yard dash. That puts him in the 92nd percentile. Size adjusted speed score would be 108.5. That's an 89th percentile. 131.5 burst score in the 95th percentile, and goes out and puts 25 reps on the bench press. So this guy's 5'10", 209. He's about ready to turn 23 years old. He was a 5-year player in college, but the last 2 years was able to put up over 1,000 yards. Last season, 328 rush attempts, 1,643 rushing yards, 13 total touchdowns, 27 receptions for 240 yards. So it definitely shows that he can do a little bit of everything, and I'm definitely you know curious on what kind of role he's going to get in the NFL as well. I really like how he tested out, and I think he could definitely be in that high end handcuff type position. Reminds me of what, again, talking about a little bit like Rashad White, a little bit more like Rashad White was from last year.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, all of these guys, I'm significantly more excited about them than I was about, like, say, Tyler Algier, who wound up being what, the RB4 in the class last year or so,
Yeah,
five.
yeah,
And like, yeah, we're still finding awesome guys this team. All
yeah.
right, our next tier is our sell them when they pop tier, because you're definitely not going to retain value on these guys if they go up. I don't think. First is Israel Abanikanda.
Yeah, Izzy's a big name that popped up. Just I know he was projected to run, in that Devon A. Chain level for 40 speed. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him at the combine. But my concern with Izzy is just like his running efficiency. He does have that high end speed. He reminds me a lot of like an Isaiah Pacheco from this year. Runs really hard, really aggressive, very upright style runner. He's gonna be able to get it done, but he's definitely a name that's gonna pop up and have trade value at some point
Yeah,
throughout the year.
exactly. All right. guy I love here, Deuce Vaughn, just a really fun type player, you know. And if this guy hits, it could be like really good.
Yeah, yeah, super fun. I mean, talk about like a guy that like can just hide behind your offensive line and pop out a hole. I mean, 5'5", 179 pounds. Um, his best comparable players, Philip Lindsay. Definitely he put up impressive numbers. His junior or sophomore year, 1,404 yards, with another 468 receiving. Last year, 1,558 yards and 378 yards receiving. Um, you know, Definitely put up some impressive numbers. Kind of reminds me of that Kenny Gainwell type player coming out. Where he had nearly 2,000 all-purpose yards coming out of Memphis. So I'm another guy I'm excited about. I mean, I'm excited about so many of these running backs, to be honest.
Yeah, awesome. All right, next up, we've got Evan Hall, and this is a guy I didn't know about until kind of more recently. And the more I hear about him, the more I like him. Like Noah from BDGE has like some really nice things to say about him.
Yeah. Comes in, tests well, runs a 4.47. Puts him in the 85th percentile, 124.4 percent burst score in the 80th percentile. 5'10", 209, another 30% BMI, 22-year-old on Northwestern. Evan Hall, goes out in his junior year, puts up 1,000 yards in the rushing game, another 246 in the receiving. Last year really shows the dual purpose skill set, 913 on the ground, 55 receptions for 546 yards. So for fantasy football, I think that's the kind of guy you're chasing in your late rounds. Back that can fill it right into a workhorse role if they need to. Um, a la Tony Pollard type player.
Yeah. And another thing is, this guy's not even in the keep trade cut rookie RB rankings right now. This
Yeah,
guy is super under the radar. So, like, capitalize on that. Like, get him in the late rounds, let him fall to you. Don't get too excited and take him in the third round if he's going to fall to you in the fourth round because nobody knows who he is.
yep. Dart throws.
All right. And to wrap it up here, we're going to do it with some Eric Gray.
Yeah, Eric Gray. Last guy on here, Oklahoma. We got the good pedigree, 5'10", 207. Another guy that's right there, that 29.7 BMI. Last year, 213 carries for 1,064 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, 33 receptions, 229 receiving yards. It's a guy that I've just heard some buzz about here and there. These are just names that you like to keep on your radar, whether you're a big fan of the player or not. You just know that there's someone in your community that's gonna latch on to players like this. I think those are the kind of guys you want to throw some of those extra late round darts on, or just players that you feel that buzz the community about. I feel like Pacheco was kind of that guy a little bit last year, where like we kind of had this feeling about him in the later rounds. People were kind of trying to take him a little bit earlier and earlier, but he was still a fourth round, sometimes even later guy, and goes out there and puts up quite a few usable weeks throughout the season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see what the NFL thinks of all these guys because, this is really how we assess their fantasy value right now. But, that's all going to change when the NFL makes the decision about how valuable they think these guys are.
For sure. Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate tuning in to our 2023 rookie RB tiers. Once again, we're not looking at any landing spots here in particular. This is just how we feel about the players based off their combine performances. How they look as a prospect. A lot of these things are going to change as soon as the NFL draft happens here in April. So awesome. We're looking forward to this week. We're going to be doing some wide receiver tiers. We might be doing some free agent talk. We got a lot more videos coming up, so stay tuned to the Modern Dynasty channel.
Yeah, please leave a like, comment, tell us where your rankings are different. Tell us how you value people. Subscribe, please. It would be a big help for us. We love
Yep.
having you guys here. Thank you so much.
Awesome.